really going to have to whiz through this now.
Successful, powerful, handsome...
Cut it out, son. It's the beginning of wisdom.
The distributor needs to create a marketing campaign that will make their film stand out from all the other films released at the same time. They need to make us want to see their film more than any other.
The general public are exposed to 200 things just before they leave to go to work. By the time they get to work, they've been bombarded with images of advertising products, with books, with films, with a variety of different things. And you're trying to get that small modicum of attention just for 2 to 3 seconds, whether it be on television or whether it be on the internet, so that they understand that this, i.e. a major motion picture, is coming. It's a very, very difficult thing to do in today's world because they are exposed to so many different variety of things.
With every film, you look at the constituent parts, and you're looking at the cast, you're looking at the film itself, you're looking at the playability, elements such as even the soundtrack and so on and so forth. So you're sort of building up your reservoir of information to enable you to formulate your plan.
The trailer is still the most important element in selling the film, but it's an element of selling the film. So there are public relations elements, there are print poster campaign elements, there are internet and mobile elements of selling the film. And without any synergy, they won't work together. So there has to be either a unique look, and sometimes that's as simple as just creating a font which becomes immediately identifiable with a film, such as Batman or Spider-Man.
The look of Spider-Man is very much related to, the global look of Spider-Man, and as such, that works around the world. I don't care if you're in Japan, in the UK, or in Brazil. That look of Spider-Man is consistent.
If they don't have the same type of feeling, then again, you're asking the public to make the connection, and that's asking them to think even more than they have to do already. I'm not talking about just films in general, everything else that they're exposed to. So what it's doing really is just a helping hand to be able to create a synergistic campaign from the start, which is generally the trailer, to the end, which is generally an ad in the newspaper saying now open or now showing.
The first key elements of any film's advertising campaign will be the poster that we see in the cinema, on outside sites and in newspapers and magazines.
I think that the importance of the campaign that we developed should be initially to sell the genre of what the film's actually about, sell the concept and the content of it. Most importantly, in some cases, this is the first look anyone will have of the movie. So it's really of paramount importance to get across what this is all about.
It's like anything. I mean, the best posters in the world are like a tease. They tease you. I mean, they kind of tease you into going to see the film.
Teaser campaigns, immediately you can get something out there as early on as possible, so that even if people aren't aware of the content or the genre of the film, they're aware that this is coming. And so you start with sort of a stepping stone campaign to start building up on that brand. Unlike the moving image that you can use for trailers and television spots, the static two-dimensional image that we would create has the availability to hit as wide an audience as possible. There are other forms of two-dimensional advertising that you can take, for instance ad shells in bus shelters, 4896 sheets with those huge roadside hoardings that one can take, which are far more cost-effective and have a broader audience.
Next, the distributor must create a trailer.
In the movie industry, the trailer is the most important key to selling the film, because it's the public's first and generally only exposure in a cinema to what they're actually going to buy into.
The man was Le Chiffre, private banker to the world's terrorists, which would explain how he could set up a high-stakes poker game at Casino Royale in Montenegro. If he loses this game, he'll have nowhere to run. You're the best player in the service.
You're actually in the environment you're going to see this film in. You're watching it on the same size screen you're actually going to see it in. So it's incredibly important that the trailer has the right impact and the right message, right down to the way in which the graphics are portrayed, the way in which the sound is portrayed, and the way in which the overall concept of the film is portrayed. Trailers generally split into 3 different categories. Now there's a teaser trailer, which is very, very early in the production of the film, or even before the production of the film starts.
This may be too much for a blunt instrument to understand. Any thug can kill. I want you to take your ego out of the equation.
And there's a main trailer, and quite often a shorter version of the main trailer, which will appear on screens of the cinema after the film has already opened, to tell you effectively that the film is out and you can go and see it in the next door screen or in another cinema close by.
The perfect trailer, I think, wouldn't have a voiceover in it because the film would do all the work itself. That the film would tell the story, whether it's through dialogue or through action, or ideally both. That helps sell what we want the film to kind of say. Where I think copy comes in is when you've got a great scene at A and here at point B, but these scenes, you put them together, they're just not going to work. So what the copy does is then bridge that gap. So the copy is essentially the glue for the trailer.
Someone started all of this. And I'm gonna find them.
Whether you want to choose voiceover or captions, generally that comes down to the mood and the tone of the film. I mean, if it's a comedy, you tend to use voice.
Meet a nice guy.
Norbit!
With a huge problem.
Don't adjust my seat! Look! That's scientifically proved that you was adjusting my seat!
That's not science.
It is, and just let it go!
I'm just taking
What am I gonna do?
If it's a drama or a scary film, again, it can be sometimes voice, but if it's a thriller or something that's quite scary, then you tend to use captions.
None of us had let go. We could have saved him. But I let go of the rope. I let go.
If you hadn't, I'd be sitting here without you.
Hello!
Hello, mate. It's Jed from the Balloon. I was wondering whether you'd like to meet up.
Because it's very much a voice would kind of play with a mood, and captions, it's much better the viewer listening to themselves, because you're trying to, with like all these things, you're trying to create a mood in someone's head. And, you know, something that's kept silent sometimes works better for like a drama or a kind of scary film.
Foreign language films present a special challenge to distributors.
There's always been a perception that if the film is in a foreign language, people won't be interested to go and see it, because it means effectively that they have to try harder, i.e. read subtitles or listen to something which is not in the English language.
Hay más cosas que yo debería saber y que no sé. Mogollón. As one of the biggest barriers for people to come into a foreign language film is the fact that it has subtitles. So if we can create a trailer that has no subtitles in, you're not telling the audience that the film is foreign language.
From a marketing point of view, do you take the leap of faith, that is, show them what they're going to get, like an Amelie trailer, very successful foreign language film where the trailer didn't care that it was a foreign language. It's a brilliant film, so therefore sold itself for what it was. Or do you take the opportunity to cover up that this is a foreign language film, a very good foreign language film, but you want people to come into it thinking that they're actually going to see something in their local language?
Whilst the trailer will be showing in cinemas, the distributor can also reach the audience when they're at home by placing TV spots.
TV spots are generally created later in the day, so they can effectively use probably the whole finished film. So they can have a lot more scenes in them, but obviously they're shorter.
What's happening?
Stay together.
Is it over?
At the end of the day, the message you need to get across from whether it be a 10, 20 or 30-second TV spot is the film's title, who's in it, and when it opens. If you can get two of those three things done, you've done a very good job in the TV spot.
So we buy prodigious quantities of television advertising to sell films, and the first aspect of that is to choose the right piece of film to put in the right television commercial that whets the appetite. You only have 30 seconds to do it in. Sometimes you have only 15 seconds to do it in. So you have to be very clear in your message.
In the 21st century, the internet is also playing an increasingly important role in the advertising campaign.
There'll always be a central website. Pretty much every film these days you see a website address on the poster or on the end of the trailer.
As well as making official websites, the distributor can also use the internet to launch a viral campaign.
Viral marketing is very, very simple. Viral marketing is creating something, an element, a game, piece of video, quiz. Because of its nature, when I send it to you, you send it on. We have to kind of create stuff that people want to come and look at. It's not, we don't have the option of pushing it into somebody. We have to try and pull it.
As well as buying advertising, the distributor will also spend money on what is called PR and press.
What we do, press relations, publicity, is very much the coordination of free editorial space across the media, whether it be online, offline, magazines, newspapers, radio, television. So in theory, that anything you hear on radio, on television, or you read about it in a magazine or a newspaper, or online indeed, has been coordinated and initiated by somebody like myself. The page that is paid for in a magazine or a newspaper or on television is totally controlled by the film company and its creative advertising agency. The problem really is that the most important element of the campaign, frankly, apart from the features that you may be able to gather, are the reviews.
One thing that can affect our decision to see a film is the reviews which appear in newspapers and film magazines.
Reviews are important, but increasingly it's becoming the case that it's not just one review that's important, it's how a film has been reviewed generally.
Newspapers now, and that goes for almost all of them, want you to do the big Hollywood movie that everybody's going to see.
We will, quite happily watch the big blockbuster because it's okay to have fun in the cinema. But also we do seek out the little movies, and Britain's own film industry is very, very good at really quirky character pieces.
As you rely so heavily on the publicity, the press campaign for specialised films, you're up against editorial space as well. And, I think sometimes I do feel sorry for the poor critics out there that are now having to see 11 films a week and review them accordingly.
The pressure that's on critics doesn't really come from film companies. It comes from space in the newspaper. There may be a very big week for films and they will suddenly say to you, well, keep it short this week, we haven't got much room. And all I'm doing with all these films that come out every week is saying, is it good of its kind? I'm not very fond of horror movies, but I have to say, is this a good one or a bad one?
As the marketing campaign develops, the distributor needs to know if awareness is building for the film. They need to track how effective their campaign is.
One of the things that's really important in this day and age is actually tracking of films, which means that you're tracking the public's awareness of a film and interest in seeing it in the lead up to release. So tracking figures are released from 4 weeks out, and the studio or distributor will be following their film in earnest, looking at what kind of percentage of people are aware of it and how many of them, if they're aware of it, are interested in seeing it.
So the distributor can spend their money on posters, trailers, press advertisements, premieres and internet sites. But in the end, what is the most effective way to sell a film?
We've done research about what people are most affected by in terms of their decision to see a film. What their friends tell them and what the word of mouth is one of the most important parts of that.
It's far more powerful for one of your friends to come and say, this is the film you must go and see, than sitting there watching a trailer or looking at a press ad or looking at a TV commercial. Word of mouth is king on every film.
Sit down, strap in, and turn on all you've got.
You spend all the money, make all the effort, and push every bit of money you've got into opening the movie. After the first weekend, it's word of mouth. You may be able to support a movie if it's doing decently well, but word of mouth takes over from the moment the first audiences walk into the cinema. If they're not having a good time, the word's out like a shot, and business goes down the drain.
Instead of leaving a film's reputation to develop after it's opened, the distributor will sometimes try to create a word-of-mouth buzz around a film before it's opened by holding preview screenings.
Sometimes we'll have a movie which we feel the word of mouth will be fantastically strong from the start. And if that's the case, and we have the movie early and we feel it's going to play very well for the target audience that we believe this film is going to most appeal to, what we will look to do is to work again with media partners, be it a newspaper or radio or television program or even one of the cinema chains, to run what we call advanced screening programs. And those are advanced screenings of the movie before they're released, free screenings for people to see it in advance. And the hope, of course, is that people are going to leave that screening and tell all their friends how great the movie is and how they're going to have to see it when it comes out.
A film that plays very well to an audience, a screening program will be a key strategy in your marketing campaign.
Even if a campaign is going well and there appears to be a strong awareness of the film amongst the target audience, a film's success still depends on one thing: the crucial opening weekend.
It's the way the cinema industry works. Basically, exhibitors work on the all-important 3-day figure, which is your opening day, which is always on a Friday, your Friday, Saturday and your Sunday figures. It calls your 3-day opening. On a Monday morning, it's make or break, I think we call it. So your film has to have been successful. In simple terms, your film in that cinema has to have made more money than any other film in that cinema.
We can achieve many things in marketing. I think we can turn marginal films into successful films, but ultimately it's the UK public who decide whether that film is going to be successful or not. Come the opening weekend, they decide, they make their decision and they vote with their feet. And if they don't go opening weekend, chances are you haven't got a successful film on your hand.